Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel through Seasonal Lens. My name is Liz. I am the owner and creator of Brilliant Pit Seasonal Wellness, where I talk about seasonality, astrology, and everything in between. I am a studying herbalist, and I have a podcast with my sister called The Venus Report, where we talk about astrology, and I just love this stuff. I have been into it for as long as I can remember, and I can't wait to talk more about this season, specifically summer solstice, Cancer season, and everything that symbolizes. So we will get right into it. Alright, so it is June 23rd, I believe, as I'm recording this, June 24th, and we have just experienced the summer solstice, which was on June 21st. So the summer solstice represents a time that is the longest day of the year, the most external, the most outward, sociable, just making memories, right? It is the time where most people consider the memories made, and where all of the experiences that accumulate up to what you call your life experience happens. And in this time, it is really significant because right now in Cancer season, Cancer is ruled by the moon. It's the cardinal water sign of the zodiac. I am a Cancer sun and moon myself, so I feel this dichotomy a lot of the time just in my personality, but as astrology, and in this time of astrology, we are now being ruled by the moon, which is concerned with the inner world, the inner emotions, the intuition, the quick moving experiences of life, like money and emotions, and like moods and attitudes and the waves and all of the things that are kind of more quicker and a little bit more concerned with the emotional side and the feeling versus like the earthy, logical, reasonable. So with that being said, this time is also all about balance, because as we experience the peak of sunlight, right? The sun, ruled by the ego, the ambition, the yang energy, that while we experience the peak of that, we are also entering right into moon-ruled territory. So what I find this time of year is that there's just endless complexity with just kind of the themes at play and the symbolism of this time, right? I think Cancer, as a zodiac sign itself, often gets kind of misunderstood in terms of like the emotional piece. It's like, oh, you're a Cancer, you're so emotional, and you probably you're nurturing and almost overbearing, right? Like that's some of the downsides of what people interpret Cancer as. But I actually tend to see, and maybe I'm biased because I am a Cancer sun and moon, but I tend to see Cancer as one of the most complex signs in the zodiac, as it is more so about the polarities of life. This is also a theme with Capricorn as well, and during Capricorn season, which is December 21st through January 21st or 19th. It's like this major polarity, and we are actually at the tropics, right? We're dealing with the solstices, not the equinoxes, where there's even amount of time and there's a little bit more balance in things. Like we are at the one-sided time of year with the most light, while Capricorn time of year deals with the least amount of light. So what does that mean, right? Ample amounts of light is kind of like the most, to me, most activating. It is the most outward and fruitful, and there's a lot to be had, there's a lot to be said, there's a lot to be done. It's almost the earth and the light tends to move us into that by itself naturally, right? And of course, depending on where you are on earth, it's like it could be warm, it could be cold right now, but it is the most outward in terms of like symbolism and almost just feeling like the seasonal feeling of this time. So I wrote down some notes that I found really interesting about this balance that I'm speaking about. A time ruled by the moon, Cancer season, but directly related to the sun's most outwardly peak time. The sun represents our ego and the yang energy, the energy that is like always doing and providing and taking action and willingness and having the ambition, the pure energy of ambition is the sun, and the creative expression of that ambition is the sun. The moon is the instinct, the more like inward and reciprocal, like wants to receive and wants to intake and observe and withstand time by not holding it back, but kind of like standing back, not having that ambition. I find that these polarities, the opposites, like the pure polarity and opposite theme comes through really, really strongly during this time. And I think it's often overlooked in like most summer solstice symbolism blogs or anything that really describes the summer and what it represents. Yes, it is the time where there's the most food to be bared, and there's a lot happening where like there's events and there's relationships and there's like things in your community that are taking place. But this time I feel, and also in Capricorn season, I really am also talking in terms of like Capricorn season as well as the other solstice, but this time is really to me about balancing it all out so that your summer is not overly yang and you don't get burnt out by the amount of energy you're expelling. So what that kind of means to me is to really use this time as a opportunity to draw in the balance again. I think during this season, it's really easy to just be like, oh, well, there's just so much going on and I'd rather get everything done, or I'd rather do all of these outward tasks and all of these outward things right now because it's summertime and the weather's nice and there's everything to be had, right? It's like abundant with everything. But I'm maybe because I'm a Cancer as well, but I get burnt out so easily by social interaction and outward interaction, and having too much of that can really kind of affect just my mood, my vitality, right? So the ego and the instinct are always at play right now. It's like we want to go to this event because all our friends are there and we can talk and be merry and joyful, and that's very like oh, let's have this experience and build this experience through our personal connection, right? But there's definitely a theme here of like having the opposite of that as well, always at play. I wanted to talk also about kind of the crab as the Cancer symbol and talk about just like the mythic association. So I was reading a book earlier today. I really don't remember the name or the artist or the author, but it was talking about how Cancer has this like, the crab was always represented as immortal and the underworld, like this immortal underworld creature, which I found so interesting because the sun can almost act that way as like the exaltation of the ego, the exaltation of the outwardness of like not the mask, but the ego, and how it goes about protecting you throughout your life. That is the exaltation of that could be like this sense of immortality, like this is who I am, and this is how I go about my life this is me and my ego, and this is my protection. This is how I am to you and how I am to others. What I believe about myself, right? It's these things that, if taken to a more extreme level, could make you feel not superior, but just more like the immortal thing about life, and like just having that protection thing. And when you watch movies where it's like vampires and immortal creatures, it's very much, if you think about it, like it is really a representation of the ego in its exaltation. And then the underworld is very, very much a symbol of the moon and the intuitive aspects of life, the undermining, the thing that people don't see, right? It's also very much like a water element theme underworld, right? Like Scorpio, Pisces, the things you can't see, the things that come up from under, and also Cancer, right? So it's like the crab has that dichotomy in it already. The exoskeleton, the ego, the protection, that's like very vivid, it's very seeable. And then the underworld, how all of these crustaceans really are crawling on the bottom of the ocean and staying at like this really deep, their environment is just deep and water and all of that. So I found that really, really interesting, and I just thought it was a good thing to share when we're talking about the balance that is ever present right now. So I'll leave this video kind of off with some lifestyle tips that I think could be really useful for people. It's mainly based on the astrology and the symbolism of Cancer itself, but I do also incorporate this as like a seasonality study. So when I do these videos, I'm also studying the seasons and the symbolic things that are prevalent right now. But they also happen to just really coincide with astrology, which is why I mainly talk about astrology here, because it really coincides with the symbolism and the overall feeling and energy that we all feel right now. So with that being said, my first lifestyle tip would be to tend to social balance. So I already kind of said this, but it's easy to be outwardly focused. So remember to connect with your inner feelings, intuition, to balance it all out. So this is just kind of like the surface level main thing of what I was basically trying to say, is really understand that this outward time right now is not only meant to be outward, it's also meant to have that inward theme, which the moon is so good at, and this energy is so potent. So it's really, it's accessible for everyone. It's not just like, oh, I'm a Cancer and I have Cancer, or I have Cancer placements, so this is easy for me. No, it's easy for everyone right now, because the sun is lighting up this constellation in the sky right now. So the energy of Cancer is very potent here on Earth right now. So tending to social balance will really draw in that sun-moon dichotomy, balancing energy that we deal with day in, day out. And just as much as you are very present, and as much as you're supposed to be very present in the external right now, and very present with everything going on, also make time to be present with yourself and the aspects of the self that need attention. Okay, so re-establish your sense of security. So in the home, through personal finances, in relationships, all considering the goals and what you're building. So when I say re-establish your sense of security, it's mainly because security is ruled by Cancer. And when we're talking about Cancer and Capricorn, there's very much this foundation of like we are building something, but we need security in order to do that. And they kind of go hand in hand. They kind of coincide with each other because Capricorn is all about building, but we need Cancer's security first in order to do that. So this is all obviously considering your goals and what you're building right now. So whether that's like you want to save up to buy a home, or you have this goal of like launching your business, right? What is going to give you security in all ways, whether that's relationships, your actual foundational security, like your home and things like that, or just what you're building, like your life goals. So that is my second tip for lifestyle. And my third tip for lifestyle during this time is to embrace the accumulation of the present moment. So I've been talking a lot about the present moment and how that's like very predominant right now, is being present and staying with the outward movement of the world and all of that. So when I say to embrace the accumulation of the present moment, I'm talking about almost tapping into the past and seeing, okay, it was these people that have made this feeling in my life. It is these processes, it is this sanctuary, it is this thing that has brought me to this moment where I'm able to be present and I'm able to detach from like the moving, like the constant action, the constant ambition, and I can actually just take these things for what they are and really appreciate them, like have gratitude and feel those feelings of gratitude. So this is another kind of practice of drawing in that balance. But yeah, it's like the time of making memories, right? And it's funny that memories and remembrance and the past history, tradition, things like that are all ruled by Cancer. So the time, this is just what I wrote down, the time to make memories, but is meant to be appreciated through the balance of inward gratitude. So always remembering that as much as we are outward and can have that outward attention, we should also draw in that attention to ourselves during this time of year. So I hope this all made sense to you, and I hope that this can help kind of draw in some of the lifestyle tips and ways to go about living right now that's a little bit more seasonal, that incorporates not only like traditional seasonality, but it also incorporates astrology and the study of the planets. So if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I will be putting out more videos like this as we move along in the year. I was doing seasonal excerpt videos where I would take footage of just nature and the changing of our environment and kind of showcase it with some, not poetry, but kind of some poetry to just extrapolate and define kind of the symbolism of this time. Right now, I'm also kind of living with the season, so everything feels outward, everything feels crazy, and I really have not had a lot of time to kind of go off and take some footage of nature, which I love doing, and I'm going to continue to do it. But as of right now, I really love the style of video, and I think that it just gives me more of a chance to talk through like the things that I'm actually actively studying and incorporate it into your lives in a more direct way versus just artistic, aesthetic poetry and visuals. But yeah, if you want to hear more about this kind of content, I have a podcast with my sister called The Venus Report. We are on YouTube and we are also on Spotify, and we talk about astrology. It is basically what we call it astrology unhinged, because we have always been into astrology, but we are not astrologers, and we talk about just the symbolism of seasonality, astrology, and everything in between together. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and follow us over there. I will have the link to our YouTube channel in the description. But otherwise, I will see you probably next month, if not before then, with some ambiance videos to just get you into the seasonal environment, especially if you're living in a city and want some of that summer ambiance. All right, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.